What's up, New York City? How we feeling? Bild Day 2? Everyone feeling good? Go Niners. Oh my goodness. I just wanted to start off this session by saying how incredibly thankful I am that you guys are here. You could have been anywhere at this expo, but you chose to be here with me at the filmmaking stage at 1 p.m., getting to hear about my story. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means so much, and thank you to BNH and Sony for championing diverse voices in the sports industry. So with that, my name is Sarina Soriano. I'm a senior producer for the San Francisco 49ers, as well as a freelance DP, director, editor, photographer, building my own brand on social media, while also helping our professional athletes as well. So with that, let's get started. From the nosebleeds to the sidelines, I was born and raised a San Francisco 49ers diehard fan, thanks to my grandpa and my dad. So for me, since high school, I had a passion for filming and editing, and little did I know that editing and filming my cousins and family dancing to Lady Gaga and Kesha in just a few short years, 5 to be exact, I'd be the first woman on the production team at the San Francisco 49ers, as well as the first Latina cinematographer in the NFL on the team side. Thank you so much. Thank you. For me, sports has always been a passion in my life. I grew up playing soccer since the age of 3. I got to play at the high school level. I got to play at the collegiate level. I'm just gonna say a really quick thing. My dad, just even when my mom was pregnant with me, he would joke around and be like, man, take care of that boy in there. And my mom would be like, Georgia, you're crazy. And I came out, and my mom always says that he was a little bit shocked, but honestly very grateful. And honestly, me and my dad, our passion and something that we truly share together is the San Francisco 49ers. So when I wasn't playing at tournaments or soccer games on that Sunday, that's what I was watching with my dad and my whole family. So watching all those games, the only representation that I had for a woman in the sports industry was Michelle Tafoya. And for me, growing up, my mom is in finance, my dad is an educator, my brother's an educator. So when I told them, I think I want to be a sports broadcaster, they were like, what? Okay, let's see what you can do with that. And I said, bet, let's see what we can do. But what was I saying? Oh, yes. So for me, that was Michelle Tafoya was an icon, a legend for me. But I always knew that I had this passion for filmmaking and editing too. And back in high school, I started out with the GoPro and whatever my college had given me in regards to our classes. So I'm pretty sure it was like a MacBook. And there I was editing and filming my cousins, doing these videos that would honestly be funny and it would exude joy from my family and my friends. And it wasn't until college where I started to take classes in production and cinematography where I realized that I actually kind of like being behind the camera and telling stories that way. So I went to Caldwell University. It's a small liberal arts college in New Jersey. I was the only one in my family, and I have a big Mexican family, so we're all in San Jose, California, to go across the country, play soccer on a soccer scholarship, and pursue this crazy dream that I just saw this woman, on the NFL field doing. And through all those classes, video editing, production, I started the YouTube channel at my college's university, filming our men and women's basketball teams, as well as our softball and baseball teams. Just doing quick little short edits like on a GoPro, and then also in my classes, I would do E&G packages of being a broadcaster and just telling the story of the game that way. I think a lot of times, when I hire new people, I think one of the first things that I look at is internships and what are they doing outside of their classes, like to make themselves stand out. So I went to college 2012 to 2016, so I think the internet was definitely not what it was today. And for me, internships were super important. I was able to work with the San Jose Earthquakes, which is an MLS team in my home state, in my home city. And I honestly was following a beat reporter around all day, trying to see how he was coming up with his questions, trying to see like how he was filming the game or what angles he was taking. And through all this, I think it's just kind of funny. A lot of times when people look at me, they knew that I could do this in the way that, yes, she's a female person that wants to be in sports production. Absolutely, she should be a sports reporter. So luckily for me, when I graduated from my university, the San Francisco 49ers actually had this position called the Denise DeBartolo York Fellowship, which was a really special program, a year-long one, that took female graduates into the sports industry, and placed them in 6 departments where we were underrepresented. So I was in finance, sales, game presentation, but I knew at the bottom of my heart that it lied in 49ers studios. And which is hard about this program is I only had 3 months to really make an impact, to really learn exactly how an NFL team operates, which is also a positive. But in those 3 months, it was my first time ever working with Sony F55s. I had only really had experiences at my small liberal arts college with E&G cameras and DSLRs. So here I was with a shoulder camera, and I remember my director at the time was like, are you sure you can like handle this? Like, do you want a smaller camera? And I totally understand that he was just looking out for me, but I didn't want what I look like to hinder what I truly wanted to do, my passion. I said, yes, I want to learn the Sony F55. So that's what I started on, filming practices, and I shot everything. I shot everything on the business side. I was shooting community events, and that's what it means, honestly, to be a producer with the team. It's not just what's happening on the soccer field, but it's every division across, that organization, and it's trying to bring it back to the brand, trying to showcase our players in a great way. They're already amazing human beings. I'm very lucky to work with a team that I'm working for currently. And just navigating that space and trying to work with a huge camera and then in these small spaces as well. But it says networking at the bottom there, and I put that there because I actually didn't know anyone in the sports industry, which was kind of crazy. So I'm from East Side, San Jose. Like I said, my parents do very different things, and that honestly discouraged me a little when I first started because I was like, how am I gonna stand out in this sea of videographers and photographers that are doing amazing things and I don't know anybody? But it was just, I don't know what it is. I think there is a chance, about being lucky, I guess. I know I worked really hard for it, but sometimes you get that like one opportunity, someone gives a chance on you, but what matters the most is what happens after that opportunity, right? Yes, I might have been lucky in that moment, but I worked very hard to be good at what I do. Similar to what I was saying, only person I saw was Michelle Tafoya growing up. So when I got into the sports industry, I remember being a little discouraged. I would get the craziest comments. So I would be on the concourse or on the field, and I remember specifically fans saying, man, you should be a cheerleader, or that camera looks really awfully heavy. And I could take those comments, in two ways, right? Be upset, feel sorry for myself, or prove to them that, I deserve a seat at the table too. And little did I know that while I was clawing at being at this seat in this sports industry, that I also was making my own separate table for people that look like me. And a lot of times, like in projects and at work, I truly try to be a champion for diverse voices. I try to bring in people that maybe have never stepped foot on an NFL field. For the past year, actually, I've gotten to look out, like on social media, for women specifically who are in college interested in this, and have them shadow me, have them hold the camera themselves and really see, like, if this is something you want to pursue. Like, one, this is the physical exhaustion of it all. It's a long work day, especially for away trips. 4 games I'm there, my team, 6 hours early. It's any sports videographer, photographer could tell you that these are long, exhausting days, but like when you get that shot, and there's just something about shooting sports, honestly, that is so incredible. It's bigger than you, bigger than your family, bigger than the moment, and you get to capture that. That's absolutely incredible. So, like I had mentioned, Denise DeBartolo York Fellowship. After a year of that program, luckily the San Francisco 49ers hired me as an associate producer. And in that position, here I was, 21 years old, and I had been tasked with also building our Spanish broadcast team and channel. And I didn't know a single thing, honestly, about broadcast, really. So here I was interviewing at 21 these grown-ups, in my opinion, color commentators, play-by-play analysts, Spanish engineers, and I was like, I really can't mess this up. We didn't even have like a partner at the time, so it was trying to figure out how are people gonna listen to the broadcast, via web, via app, trying to figure out all those ins and outs, and working, honestly, with a team of people who were a lot older than me, who had a lot more experience than me, and trying to figure out a way to get this up and going. And 2017 was when we first started it, and it's been incredible to see the growth of Spanish content, specifically with my team. Obviously throughout the NFL, which is amazing. I think right now people are just starting to realize not only just the growth of the Latino fan base, but what we bring, as workers, as videographers, as athletes, as fans. So to look at it now, he had mentioned that I just won 4 Emmys this weekend, and 3 of those were as a director and as an editor for Spanish content. And I'm out here competing with the Telemundos of the world, the Univisions. I was one of the only females like on the list of people that were nominated. Like, that's powerful, and I feel like a lot of people maybe sometimes brush over that, but like for the women in the room, there's something to be said about, you know, doing that and pursuing your dreams and not listening to the doubts in the outside world, right? It's similar to our athletes. There's so much going outside in the world, but what you can work on is what you're doing right now in that moment. So let's talk about my role currently. I got hired as an associate producer right after the Disparo New York Fellowship. From there, I was hired as a producer and now a senior producer, what I'm doing today. So I'm so glad to be able to help lead and shape what our Spanish content looks like, as well as be a lead on our English side. I have a counterpart, Nick Shabetta, who's absolutely amazing as well and helps me in identifying how we want our fan base to see our players, regardless of what's happening on the field. So for a senior producer, we're filming and editing everything related to 49ers football, filming everything on the business side. What's really special about being a senior producer and working on the team side is you're also working with the athletes who hire you to help build their own brands and their own camps. And I've shot weddings, I've shot everything, you know, and it's very special to me to be able to see some of these athletes who started when I just started too, like a George Kittle or a Fred Warner, and getting to see them grow into these leaders that they are today is absolutely incredible. And they're my coworkers, and honestly, they're just some of the most amazing people that to work with in the NFL. On the bigger hand side, I also conceptualize and execute video campaigns. One of my favorite video campaigns is the Latino Heritage Month campaign that we do every year with the NFL. And with that, it's not only conceptualizing it, it's storyboarding. I don't know if anyone uses Milanote here, but that's a really great resource to storyboard and plan out your shots and everything. I also use Shot Deck. iCandy is another website that I use to drive inspo for all of these video campaigns that I'm doing. At the end of the day, I really want to make sure that my community feels seen, heard, and represented. So I think I'm doing that. Hopefully people would agree with me, but it's been beautiful to see something come from just a small idea into something a lot bigger that means a lot more than me and my family. And like I had mentioned there, working with professional athletes, artists, and brands to ultimately elevate the San Francisco 49ers brand. So another really cool project that I just wanted to touch on is just playoff campaigns, which are amazing. I got to work as a DP for our playoff campaign in 2023, getting to shoot with Saweetie and Pilo, who are these minority outstanding artists that made a song specifically for the San Francisco 49ers. And I'll never forget walking on that set. I had asked the director specifically if he could find me a woman who was interested, who was in AC in LA. They flew me out to LA. It was like a one-day shoot. It was very fast. And he did. He conquered that for me. And as soon as the day goes on and she's like switching lenses, we're switching scenes on this set, and she goes, I just wanted to let you know that it's so powerful to me to see someone like yourself being a DP and help leading this campaign. And it was just this moment where like no one else said that but her. And like I said, I think a lot of women can get it. It was like, thank you so much for seeing me. And now we got to make this really amazing product. So one of the biggest questions I get is, what is a typical game day like in the NFL? So my team, there's about 6 or 5 of us, and we show up 6 hours before kickoff. During this time, we're filming the guys arriving to the stadium. We're editing in real time. We are setting up all our cameras. We have a lot of different cameras, and Sony is one of our main ones. We have FX6s, FX3s. We shoot a lot with the area mirrors for highlights. And once they all are arrived there, we're also setting up GoPros in our Spanish and English radio booths. We're filming warm-ups, pre-game, once again, editing in real time. And finally, the real fun starts when we get to shoot highlights. And for us, we have a couple of different positions on our team. I would say the highlight shooter is one of the top tier positions to have, because at the end of the day, if you miss that shot, you miss that shot. We call each other the historians of the team. And for a lot of the primetime games, NFL films will come out and they'll have a top angle and another ground shooter to help us. But really, we want to push ourselves to be like NFL films, right? We want to make sure that we have, for our own records, a shot of George Kittle's 50-yard touchdown, or CMC running down the line, or a Brandon Ayuk catching a shot that just bops off someone's helmet, you know? One of those positions as well is the cutaways camera. So this camera is a lot more artistic, and the lenses we have currently are the 85 to 300, the 20 to 120, 19 and 90. We have some ENG lenses as well, 16 millimeter, and they're trying to get everything that the highlight shooter can't really focus on, right? Because they're so invested in what's happening in the game. And cutaway shooters are getting like medium close-ups of the guys getting off the line, the sweat running down their faces, taking off helmets. We're getting all of that just to make sure that we have enough footage and enough variety to tell the story at the end of the game, especially if when, and enough footage to hold us throughout the entire week from what we do from sponsored content. The next one we have is our Weasel camera, which is a lot of fun. I think when you're on the ground on game days, you're very much so kind of tunnel vision, looking at the play, trying to position yourself the best way possible. But the Weasel is someone who's around the stadium, getting the ambiance, getting the environment, getting the touchdown from the concourse level and seeing the crowd go wild and jump in your shot. And once again, those type of shots provide color to everything that we're trying to produce and direct after the game. Once again, we have our miking camera. So on home games, we have someone on the concourse filming whichever player or coach that is mic'd up, and we also have someone on the ground. So this allows us to have variety in the mic'd up edit itself, and we use also this content in our game day recaps as well. So this is actually a very special position, because imagine listening and hearing everything that a player is going through that game, for better or for worse. Now, obviously, a lot of things we are not going to show to the world, but the best ones are just the amount of joy or the leadership that they're exuding from the ground is just something that's so special to capture. And finally, our bench sound position, which is also really unique. We have two people on the bench sound position, someone who's holding the camera and someone who's holding the boom mic. And honestly, this position is super important, because they are the ones that are honestly listening to the story of the game. They're listening to our coaches saying exactly what play happened and how Nick Bosa can do better, or what he did amazing. We have they get to listen to our players coaching each other up. Like I said, George Kittle, a Fred Warner, CMC, being the leaders that they are, talking to their quarterback, Brock Purdy. And through all of this, in the back of your head, when you're this position, you're like, okay, I just saw a touchdown happen. Now I'm getting the reaction on the bench. Like, I'm going to remember that for this edit that we have right after the game. And honestly, one of the coolest experiences that we get to do is we get to go inside the locker room and hear Kyle Shanahan say how proud he was of his team and what he can do better, and get ready for the guys for the next game coming up. So all of these positions are honestly super unique, super important to the storytelling of what we're trying to do at the San Francisco 49ers. So let me go my advice to you. A lot of times I have people say, like, how do I even start in sports? And I just wanted to say, someone from Eastside San Jose who had no connections, if I can do it, you can do it. I am that representation that Michelle Tafoya was to me. I think it's so special that little girls and honestly little boys can like look at commercials that Sony is doing and see me out there holding a giant cinema camera or running around with the gimbal as the guys are running out of the tunnel. There's power in that. And one of the #1 sports websites to get a job, honestly, is teamworkonline.com. If you haven't heard about that, that's a really great resource. And I would say January and February is when we start posting jobs, especially in the NFL. And we try to at least hire people by our fiscal year, which starts again in April. So always make sure January to February to be scouring Teamwork Online for these sports positions. I also want to say you don't need a fancy camera, just create. I was someone who was with the GoPro, my MacBook, whatever I had in high school, and just like filming things, or filming, starting a YouTube channel at my college university. A lot of times I actually don't I hire people who have experience in sports, but I also really like to see what else you have in your portfolio, whether it's weddings, corporate events. I think all of that makes people more well-rounded as a videographer, honestly, and a cinematographer, to see how you can develop a story from conceptualizing it to finally executing it. And then I forgot what the other bullet point was. Let me go back. Network. Once again, I had no connections, but now Instagram, social media is what it is today. LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to send that DM. Don't be afraid to reach out on LinkedIn and ask someone like, hey, do you have a second? Like, I appreciate you. I love what you're doing. I would love to see like how you got to where you are today. You'll never know what people say. The worst thing you can hear is a no, but when you hear that yes, it's so special. And then finally, I just wanted to say, believe in yourself and work hard. I'm someone that, yes, I look the way that I look, and it was kind of shocking maybe in 2016, but it's been absolutely beautiful to see the growth of women in sports and photography, in social media. I think we still have a long way to grow in production and video, but honestly, with more representation and more stories like this, and thank you so much again to Sony and B&H for having my voice be heard in my story, I think more women maybe are gonna start liking it. So thank you so much, I appreciate you. We're gonna open up now to some Q&A if you guys are interested. Thank you.
All right, anyone on this side have any questions for Sarina? In the back, yes.
Thank you. 2 questions. One is quick, and one is a little bit longer. The first is, what specific microphones do you find stand up to the environment of an NFL game when a player is wearing them? And second, if you could just talk a little about the evolution of teams developing their own production versus like in the days of NFL films, they were the only one doing it.
Right. Let's start with that first one. So miking up pads is truly an art, and it's something that you need repetition in for sure. It's also realizing if they're a right-handed player, if they catch balls normally on the left, is making sure that you're, I don't want to say weaker side, but you're miking up the side that probably most likely won't get hit. In the NFL, though, they're always getting hit, and they're going through so much, so it's making sure that that's taped down correctly. But I would say we use electrosonics right now, and we rely on that for any wireless mics. If you want to do it more like run and gun, honestly, I've had experience with Rode, I've had experience with DJI, and for the run and gun situations, those are great as well. I will say, no matter what you're using, how you're miking and your technique is honestly the most important, I believe. And your second question, what was it again? The evolution of team content? Yeah, okay. Like I said, before this, it was all just NFL films, and now there's been a surge of teams creating their own production teams. And I honestly think seeing that evolution has been so beautiful because the teams are the ones that are with the players 24/7. We travel with them. We're working almost 7 days a week. And honestly, we're developing relationships with them and understanding where they came from. So I really think it's definitely a plus to work on the team side because you know exactly what makes them tick. You know how to work with them and pull the best information that you need from them. I would say hometown features are some of my favorite pieces of content that I get to work on, and NFL Films has done a really great job at doing those things too. But for example, Fred Warner and I started around the same year, and just being able to go to his hometown in San Diego and knowing that he has, I've met his mom before, so being able to set up that interview with his mom and make her comfortable, being able to set an interview with his grandma and then his high school coach, all these people in his life that have shaped him into the amazing player that he is today. At the end of the day, like that is so cool for me to be able to help him tell his story to the world, to help curate it, to help shape it in the best way possible, and to really see like how Fred Warner became Fred Warner. So to me, the team side production teams are only gonna go up, especially in quality and quantity, and it's gonna be really cool to see in the next couple years how far we take it in regards to social media content.
Hi, thanks so much for doing this.
Of course.
As a woman in sports and video and photo, I think you did an incredible job of addressing all the issues. My question is, it's not just women not being interested in pursuing video, it's also men not trusting that women can do this physical position. Right. And I think that's so much of a struggle. And as a woman, I struggle to get producers or get directors or get people to trust that women are physically capable and have the technical know-how. I've actually had colleagues at this event tell me women are not they do not have the technical know-how in video that men have. And this is like, people who should know better than saying that. So my question is, what can we say to the men in this room to make them understand that women have the technical know-how and or to invest in them so that they can get the technical know-how? And then also, especially as such an incredibly petite woman as you are, but you're able to do this, what do we say to the men to say, we are strong enough to do this?
That's such a good question, and it's crazy what a shared experience this is like for women just in production throughout, whether it's sports or cinema, whatever it is. I do think a lot of times it's hard, especially on production crews. A lot of times they rely on people that they've been working with for years, but that also means it's gonna keep staying the same, right? So I think I would challenge the men, in power, or even the women in power in this room that are listening today. What are you doing to make sure that these diverse voices have this opportunity that someone gave you, honestly? And at the end of the day, too, we want diversity in our content. I think for me, being successful at Spanish content and Latino content, it's because I am Latina. I have these resources in me to help elevate this content. And a lot of the time, senior directors, I'm lucky to work with a great one, but who will recognize, the value in me and being like, you know what, I maybe don't know that much about this, and I think you could cook if I give you the opportunity to do so. So yes, I would just honestly challenge people to bring in new diverse voices and let your work speak for yourself, right? Have your reel up and ready to go. Make sure, you don't have to have pictures of yourself holding this crazy cameras, but I really think that when you let your work speak for itself, you can go far. And that's how I've measured myself throughout all of my career is no matter what you say about me, my content is gonna eat, my content is gonna kill, so.
Then we have a question here towards the back.
Hello, I teach at the University of Nebraska photo and multimedia, and most of my students, I have a lot of female students that want to do sports.
That's awesome.
So
That's incredible.
how do they get, I know they're all doing stills, so how do they get to where you are with my help, basically?
So if you're right now at a university, I challenge a lot of younger college students. It's to just go out and shoot. And it's really cool to see USC and Notre Dame have these really prestigious football programs already, and they have this whole pool of videographers and content creators that are learning and growing that way. So I would challenge them to go out, even if it's for free or whatever, building their resume, but to just go out and shoot and film something. And then when they bring it to your class, or maybe they go to another videographer that they really look up to, it's asking the hard questions like, hey, can you review this? Or can you give me some feedback? I do think community is so important, especially in the sports industry. Right now, I'm currently a part of a Discord that my cohort, Nick Shabetta, created, and it's with a lot of young, up-and-coming, talented videographers, photographers, graphic designers, and I see them just asking each other questions. So I think if there are a lot of women in your class, even encouraging them to start something together. Let's start a broadcast channel together. Let's start an editing cohort, let's support one another. Let me send you YouTube links on how to learn this, how to learn that. But it's really cool to see when they lean on each other, how far they could grow.
How you doing?
Hi.
My name is Doug Wade, at Wade in Full Frame on Instagram. I want to ask you this question, being Latina, being part of the 49ers, and being in the fact that we're here, and one of the main things we talk about is storytelling.
Yes.
Whether through photography or through video. Being in the climate of today, how do you as a Latina out west, that everything's going on, and Kaepernick being somebody who is a 49er, who stood for something, using sports as the platform, how do you as an individual find ways to tell stories to bring sports and everything that's taking place in our country? How do you just function in that space?
So that's a wonderful question, and I think honestly the Emmys that I won this past weekend, that's why it meant so much to me. I'm a proud granddaughter of immigrants, and we do so much for this country in so many different industries. So the best way for me to represent my culture and my grandparents, I carry their dreams with me. One of my favorite quotes is, "We are our ancestors' wildest dreams." So anything that I do and how I represent myself is super, super important, because there might be a lot of negative rhetoric to Latinos right now, but you can see in the art that I'm creating that we are so much more than what the media paints us to be. And for me, honestly, I think these stories at this day and age are so important to tell. So it's finding ways to weave in the community. It's finding ways to weave in people of color, minority voices, to create something for our brand that represents the San Francisco 49ers, in the best way possible. And I feel very special to work for such a team that's in NorCal, that's in the Bay Area. We are very heavily Latino influenced. Our second biggest fan base is in Mexico City, and we're doing so much on the international marketing side as well, and developing more fans in different countries. So as long as if we know and understand what's happening and try to do our best to incorporate, the things that matter to us, I think we're really telling a story of how great, not even the players and the team, but also how beautiful and rich and diverse our community is.
We've got another question here in the back.
Hi, my name is Chris Williams. I'm our senior video producer for the New Jersey Devils. And
Cool.
one of the questions I have is, all your production on game day is so impressive. It's really, really cool. And you mentioned a little bit about the run and gun
Yes.
projects that you get kind of thrown. We also get tons of run and gun projects kind of just dropped in our laps
Yep.
throughout different departments or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What goes into your decision in terms of when you want to kind of, I don't know how I'll say this, but kind of ball out with a certain level of production with like bigger cameras, REs, whatever you have at your disposal versus something more run and gun, light, and function more kind of mobile that you can kind of just be a little more mobile and comfortable. Where do you kind of find that line, and how do you make that decision?
Well, it's so incredible too, just how great like Sony cameras are in general, just with the AI autofocus. And photographers have been loving it, but honestly, from a videographer perspective, they are truly so amazing for run and gun, and even like for like game days, to be honest. They're light and do exactly what we need them to do. So I don't have to, I can always rely that the technology is gonna work, so I can focus on framing my shot. I would say, because we're historians of our team, there are certain things like if we do something with Jed York or Denise DeBartolo, these are moments that need to be remembered and captured forever. So we try to up our production value a little bit more in regards to like bringing in sometimes DPs or even videographers, producers, people that can help us elevate the project, just because we know that it's going to be seen for years and years and years. And for us, we have, we're currently actually updating to NetApp, but we were on CatDV for our footage. And we have stuff from the 1940s, 1930s, which is truly incredible. And 10 years from now, I know it's going to be, or 20 years from now, cameras are going to be even so much better. But I don't know, right now they look really clean, as you can see from some of my examples, and it's special to our players to have that moment captured forever, but also really important for our organization and the people that are going to come after me to look back at this footage and be like, wow, this is so pristine still, and I get to use this in whatever edit that I'm creating. So it's definitely a balance of using all of these cameras and techniques, and the budget, honestly, too, is a huge thing. But we try our best to decide what is historical and what is, something that's happening right now in this moment. Of course.
Hi. Right here.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your talk.
Of course.
You showed us just a bit of how the filming day goes. Can you explain us just a bit of how the editing goes and you said that you made weddings and like, how do you do to separate one product from the other? Because like sometimes it's like you've done one wedding, you've done it all, or you've seen it all.
Yeah.
And the second question is, how, like, being Latina, of course, and me too, but how do you see the fan base against like football and soccer? Like, how do you battle that?
Well,
and especially these days, because like they're injecting a lot of soccer for for what's coming on next year.
I know, I can't believe the World Cup is also going to be in the Bay Area, and our Bay Area host committee is so excited to host that. Hopefully I see you guys either at Super Bowl or World Cup, you know, in my hometown, San Francisco, San Jose. But your first question is how to diversify or how to break up the projects, right? Oh, it was editing time, actually. So depending on when, we are expected to deliver 49 hours, which is our game day recap, at least by Wednesday. So come Thursday, that's a whole turnover like to the next week. We're trying to make content that's previewing the next matchup. So Wednesday is honestly the last day for the previous Sunday or whatever. So we really have about like 6 or 8 shooters on game day, and we're going through all of our footage, we're logging, and whoever's in charge of 49 hours, it's a really big task because you need to get it done in those 72 hours. That's probably like the biggest project of the week, but we also have a lot of sponsored partnership content that needs to get done on Monday or Tuesday, and everyone else is doing that while the editor is focusing on 49 hours, which takes 3 days. The others are a little bit more quicker, which is great. Thursday, like I said, we have a lot of podcasts that we're currently doing now. So we're shooting that in English and in Spanish. We have live shows that we're doing, community events, Community Tuesday. So we're out shooting that. And a lot of times we rely on our interns and associate producers to get their chops up, learning how to interview people and telling a story that way. But that was the editing question. And then how do I separate? So a lot of my freelance and DP work is during our off season, which is about right now. So from January to, depending on how well the team does, from February to April is also like a good like relaxation month. Or if you're like me and you know you're doing a lot, I did All-Star Weekend, a bunch of events in the Bay and working with our athletes that way. So it's making sure, finding the projects. A lot of times when I first started, I was saying yes to everything. But nowadays, now that I'm further along in my career, I really have to be selective with what I do with my time, especially as well as my content creation on the side. So I have a very packed schedule. The weddings and things like that, I usually, hopefully it's like months in advance. It's not. So it's making sure that my client and our athlete is also prepared and knowing what they want, you know, and working with them and working with the photographer to honestly capture the best moment of their life. So that's always, honestly, a lot more terrifying than a game day, to be honest, it's like weddings and personal events like that. I've done like first birthdays and I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta make sure this is right. But it's a lot of fun, and for me, I love having that diversity of projects, and it's just making sure that I have my time schedule all set to go.
All right, we have time for a few more questions. Swani.
Okay, muchas gracias. Te lo voy a decir en español para que me pueda expresar mucho mejor yo. Bueno, quisiera darte mucho las gracias por compartir tu historia. Estoy muy feliz de poder haber venido acá y haberte escuchado porque me inspiró bastante. Yo hace mucho tiempo estoy haciendo sport filmmaker, yo soy fotografía. Y bueno, quisiera que tú me ayudes haciéndome un advice. Porque bueno, estoy ahorita tratando también de hacer mi propio contenido y encuentro muy difícil encontrar el tiempo o sea, como los partidos tú tienes que entregar de los films.
Yes.
Entonces, ¿cómo tú encuentras tiempo para, en real life, postear todo eso and at the same time postear obviamente tu contenido? Porque obviamente también es parte de que lo quieres compartir con tu comunidad.
Totally. So she was asking me, how do I honestly find time to post the team's content and then also post my own individual content on my own social media channels? And like I was kind of alluding to with the previous question, is I really have to make sure my schedule is locked down. So I don't have a normal 9-to-5 job. I work 7 days a week. It's exhausting, but it's so much fun and so worth it to me. But I know like from like 8:30 to like 7 p.m., that's what I'm doing for the team. That's completely dedicated to what I need to get done. But to be honest, for my own content creation, I need to also set 9 p.m. till 12. So this past year, I have been focused on my own personal brand as well. But from 9 p.m. to midnight, I was locked in doing emails, I was pitching, I was creating Millinotes, storyboards, and reaching out to all these partners and these brands that I thought resonated with myself and people that I wanted to work with. And because I locked in that year with this crazy schedule, I'm standing here today, you know, at B&H speaking on behalf of Sony, and I got a lot more partnership activations and collaborations coming up as well. I just finished a collaboration with Four Seasons Hotel because I also really love travel and I love vacations. So I would just say to you to make sure your schedule is blocked. And if you really lock in, just give yourself 1 year of locking in, you would be so surprised at how far you can go. Even like weekends too. It's all about time management, I know, but if you also can at least like Saturdays, shoot all your content that day, edit all on Sunday, like that's gonna help you for the rest of your week.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Kevin Dooley, and my question is, I'm very anxious when it comes to like the film industry, because right now I'm a film student in college. I'm gonna be a junior. I'm taking classes in the city, and one thing I'm worried about is that I won't be prepared for these professional scales when I'm finished. And I know networking is a big part of connecting with other filmmakers, but sometimes I'll be going to class on my way to school, and I'll see like film sets, people working, and I want to talk to them, but I'll be so shy, and I'm like, you know, let me just leave these people alone and just keep going where I gotta go. And so how do I connect with other people to gain more professional knowledge while I'm in school so I won't be so green when I get to that level when I'm done? That's the first question. And the second question is, I have an interview with NBC next week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. For an internship for one of their news stations. And I'm really nervous because my only professional sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, experience, I guess, is being a productions assistant on a film set for Warner Brothers. I think they were filming Joker 2 in the Bronx, and that was in like high school, and now I'm a junior in college, and I've done like other small scale stuff, but I don't want to sound too green because they might be looking for somebody with more experience.
Yeah.
So how do I prepare myself to get into this space, basically? Yeah.
Well, first, once again, congratulations on your interview. That's super exciting. I'm gonna wish you the best of luck. And then two, honestly, be proud of yourself for even standing up in a room full of strangers and asking that question. You said you have anxiety, and look at you, speaking your truth and just asking me a simple question. Like, that's awesome, good for you. And, you know, I just wanna share one of my favorite quotes with you, and it's, our deepest fear isn't that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we were powerful beyond measure. When we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give permission for others to do the same. So I'm just letting you know that it might be hard and scary to put yourself out there, but I promise you, confidence can take you a long way. And what's something that that stuck with me, that when I first was starting in this industry and advocating for myself, a lot of people were like Sarina, like, there are a lot of people that have done less than you asking for more. Once again, the worst thing that could be said to you is a no, but you'd be surprised at how many like yeses you get just by asking and casting your net, you know? So even attending events like this and building your community, like I was telling that the man who was a university teacher, building your community is so important, and finding like-minded individuals that want to go the same route that you do, leaning on each other, asking each other questions, like, how do I get better? Can you review this for me? Is going to take you a really long way. And then I'm so sorry, I forgot your second question. Yeah, absolutely. And don't be that nervous as well, because you already like got that first step into getting that interview. But previously to what I said, confidence is going to take you a long way. You could say, I edited, or I edited this little small thing. Like, no, I led a campaign of 2 people. We conceptualized this strategy and we executed, got X amount of views. Like, you know, like, say it with your chest a little bit. And I promise you, that's gonna be really impressive to whoever is interviewing. And also make sure to ask questions. That's like one of the things that they tell a lot of people that we interview. Like, I ask them, do you have any questions for me? And if you have 0, it's kind of weird, to be honest. Like if you truly want to be at NBC, like also make sure to know their brand. Also make sure to ask them tough questions, like if that's the environment you want to be in. What are you guys doing to build your culture, and what are you doing to bring in these voices? And based on what they say, maybe for you, you're like, actually, I don't know if I want to work here. Or you might be like, oh, okay, I thank you so much for doing that. I really want to work here. So ask questions and be confident and make sure that you don't minimize your strengths, okay? Make them into these really big strengths that they are. Good luck.
I think we got time for one or two more quick questions.
This is so amazing, very inspiring.
Oh,
My name is
thank you.
David.
I
Of course,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. So what were your days like as an associate producer, like before you got to the senior producer role with the 49ers? 'Cause
Yep.
I feel like a lot of us want to get to that point, but obviously there's steps to getting there. So what was your days like before you are where you are now?
What's really cool about our team, especially now with our associate producers, we try to not throw them in the fire, right? But we also expect them to do the best that they can. So a lot of times it's shadowing, it's learning how a certain lighting setup, it's learning how we direct, it's learning how we ask questions and get the best answers from our players and our coaches. But it's really cool. We give a ton of opportunities to our associate producers, and we know that they're not gonna be great, right? Because who's great at something when they first start? You have to work towards it. But we're getting them opportunities to shoot practices. They probably won't shoot highlights like on a game day, but they're miking. We're making them do the pads themselves. They're on the top level setting up the camera. They're on the ground level. They're making sure, honestly, to be a little bit like an AC, switching lenses and putting monitors up and all that. So we really try to give our associate producers all these different kinds of opportunities and experiences, and that's what helped lead me to grow to be the senior producer that I am today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abhi. I'm a film graduate and I'm just starting out in the industry. So I wanted to ask, what would your day look like when you were in your beginning phase, and what would you do when you had nothing to do, like during the day?
Oh, okay. So for my beginning phase as like an editor, a videographer, or just in general, yeah. I would say my beginning phase is always to start out with a project with my Milanote and seeing what's my idea, what's the goal, what's the objective. I'm going on Milanote and then I'm looking on Shot Deck, or I'm looking up different sources of inspiration, putting that in my Milanote. And then I'm also looking back to the brand. What are our marketing team's key, initiatives? How can I all tie this together to eventually present it to the people that ultimately have the money, that are ultimately going to give you the green light? But the more prepared you are in pre-production planning, it's so important, because the second that you're not prepared, that's when you're going to get the no's, right? So that's what I'm doing in the beginning stages. And then your second question was, my free time. So I need to do a lot better at balance, to be honest, but I truly love filmmaking. So similar to what she was saying about content creation from 9 to midnight for a lot of days this past year, I was building partnerships with brands. I was pitching. I was seeing what kind of content resonates with me. What do I want to do? But I was constantly filming, honestly. But it also brings me joy. So I would say filming is something that I do in my free time.